The Father Matrix, my origin story. It was 2004. The erosion of our constitutional rights through the bogus Patriot Act that most of Congress had never even read yet, but still signed off on it, led me to get a passport and look for other countries, not chasing a boogeyman that they coincidentally created through poor public policy. I had always wanted to be a teacher, so I thought about traveling the world teaching English as a second language. Originally, I was supposed to go to the Czech Republic but was offered more money and more benefits going to East Asia like many passport bros, but the journey I took was much more than I bargained for. Not only was there a huge cultural difference, but dating someone from another country while in their country and not really speaking their language put me at a huge disadvantage. Because of several misunderstandings, I ended up pursuing someone who grew up dirt poor. When I say dirt poor, I mean her family home was nothing more than cement walls. There were no doors, no windows, no indoor plumbing, and they didn't even own a refrigerator. It was something you might have seen from the Middle Ages. I didn't necessarily have a problem with it as long as the girl still had a well-regulated moral compass and wasn't vindictive. And that's what I thought for the first 6 months, until the mask came off when she got pregnant. To make a long story short, that's when my life became a living hell. Shortly after becoming pregnant, she would get violent when she didn't get her way. And the demands kept increasing, including wanting me to pay for her parents' retirement. When our daughter was born, the violence continued, but now she had a little one to bully as well. Beating her at 9 months old because she wasn't potty training fast enough, and by 11 months, yanked the ligament off her elbow twice in 1 month. Threats of her running off with the child, in a country where I didn't speak the language or understand the laws, were frequent unless I married her. Hoping the threats and the violence against our child would stop, I agreed to marry her, but it only fueled her towards her ultimate goal, going to the US. The threats of kidnapping our child continued to the point of one failed attempt ultimately forcing me to file for her immigration paperwork. 3 months after arriving in the US, she ended the relationship but refused to leave the marital home, telling me that she would leave when she was ready, and she wasn't going to pay a dime for her share of living there. She slept in the master bedroom, our child slept in the bedroom next to her, and I was in the spare bedroom. This lasted for 2 years, until one fateful day she got a scholarship for minorities to go to a summer program at a university 4 states away. Where she completely screwed up big time was saving her passwords on the computer, so whenever I logged in, I could easily read her emails and social media comments. What I read was merely a continuation of the same crap I dealt with for the previous 5 years. But now, she was formally applying to that university 4 states away, with the idea that she would just relocate with our child in the middle of the night, and with me having no access to the child, like so many times she threatened to do it back in her country. Social media pictures also showed her getting drunk and hooking up with guys at the university. It was pretty clear she wanted to permanently remove me from our daughter's life. She also began using character assassination to discredit me while playing the victim, so that she could seek assistance from a corrupt domestic violence organization to ease the transition into the new state. What most men don't realize is, under the law, if you are married, there is no custody order. One parent can just take the child and move to another state, establish residency, and then file for divorce and child support. Happens all the time. Women often go to other states with stronger domestic violence centers that have influence with the local judicial system that could prevent the child from returning to the father in the original state. But as soon as you file for divorce in the home state, it gives the home state jurisdiction to control the divorce and custody decision. So when I filed for divorce, it completely stopped her from grabbing the child and relocating. Boy was she pissed when I had her served with divorce papers in the other state. On top of that, I filed for a protection from abuse order on the basis of the ongoing kidnapping threats and the physical abuse. Oh right, did I mention the abuse was still continuing? I had to take my daughter to the hospital twice in the US because of her abuse, including one time where she tried to break her arm and the doctors turned the other cheek. Now, I didn't really want to file for divorce. I knew the female-centric justice system would annihilate me in court. Even though I considered my situation marriage fraud, And I had a copy of her diary where she admitted that she used me just to come to the US. The immigration services wouldn't get involved because there is a child. The way they look at it, and it completely makes sense. If my ex was deported for marriage fraud and not permitted to return to the US for 10 years, the US Family Law Court would have to require me to send our child to her each summer in her country, which is not part of the Hague Convention on International Child Abduction. The nightmare would have gotten much worse. That concept was just absurd to me. The federal government knew I would have gotten screwed and divorced by state family court, which would have allowed for more abuse. Even if she went to jail in the US for 5 years and was deported, there would have still been 7 potential summers I would have had to send her back to Southeast Asia. Part 2 of my story will be in the next video. This will talk about my challenges with the divorce and custody process, how I initially got 50-50 custody even fighting through all the corruption, and how I ended up getting sole parental rights with her having to pay me child support. Yes, I cracked the code, used every loophole to my advantage, and won. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.